Now available in paperback and e-readers. John Haynes, 1987. Learn lessons about life and teenage love in the 1980s in this coming-of-age John Haynes story. Get your copy of John Haynes, 1987 in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. A New Hampshire man was convicted and sentenced to 56 years to life in prison for the murder of his 5-year-old daughter in 2019.
You are a monster, Adam.
A day many have long waited for to address Adam Montgomery, convicted of killing his daughter, 5-year-old Harmony. Montgomery, absent during trial, was present in court today for sentencing as Harmony's loved ones gave emotional impact statements.
Did she cry for me? Did she scream? Did she beg you to stop? I'll never know. Because like I said, you're too much of a coward to tell the truth and do one good thing for Harmony.
A jury found Montgomery guilty of beating his daughter to death in a car in 2019, then hiding her body by stuffing it in bags, storing her in various locations.
You introduced a nightmare into our son.
The adoptive parents of Harmony's brother read a letter the boy wrote.
I love my sister. I miss her. I hope she's eating M&Ms in heaven.
The judge ultimately sentencing Montgomery to the maximum as the prosecution requested.
You treated her body like it was trash, worse than trash. You did unimaginable things to her body.
Prosecutors say Montgomery dumped Harmony's remains, which have not been found. The search continues, Harmony's mother vowing to find her.
And with or without you, we will find my daughter.
Now, before the sentencing, the prosecution basically made an offer to Adam Montgomery that he said where he dumped Harmony's remains, that they would lower the sentence. He did not reply. He did not have any response to that. The offer does apparently still remain open. If there is an appeals process, we're unsure if that will take place. But the Attorney General's office saying that the search for Harmony's remains continues. Live in Manchester, New Hampshire, Sarah Conji, WCVB News Center 5.
Now, according to reports, Adam Montgomery was put on trial in New Hampshire for allegedly murdering his 5-year-old daughter, Harmony, back in 2019. However, law enforcement didn't know about the death of Adam Montgomery's daughter, Harmony, until 2021, and it took this long for this trial to get through the criminal justice system. And Adam Montgomery basically wound up spending almost 5 years able to get away with the murder of his daughter if it wasn't for people finding out about it sooner. Now, what's really disturbing about this whole situation with Adam Montgomery is that he basically was a drug addict who went out here and had a child with a woman named Crystal Sorey. And Crystal Sorey and her father and Adam Montgomery were addicted to drugs. And as they went out and had this child, they weren't able to care for Harmony. And sadly, Harmony's life was nothing but chaos as she was sent into the foster care system. And as Crystal lost custody of her to foster care, what eventually happened to Harmony is that she wound up in the foster care system. However, Adam Montgomery wanted to get custody of his daughter after he married another woman named Kayla. And after he married this other woman named Kayla, he then got custody of his daughter. And sadly, as Harmony came into the life of Adam Montgomery, her life became chaos once more. And her life became chaos once more because Adam Montgomery, a drug addict, basically began abusing his daughter and began abusing his daughter because he had other children, possibly by Kayla, and having a child by another woman inside of the home with another woman, that's not a healthy environment for that child to be in. However, as Adam wound up in having this dysfunctional home, he wound up in a situation where he lost his job and wasn't able to pay his bills and wound up getting evicted from his home. And for a time, they wound up living inside of a Chrysler Sebring vehicle. I don't know if it was a 2-door or a 4-door or a convertible. And as they were living inside of this Chrysler Sebring, Harmony basically was having issues as related to her continence. And as she was having issues related to her continence, which I believe had to do with the anxiety as related to having her entire life destabilized from being in an apartment with a drug addict to living inside of a car, Adam Montgomery was seething in anger because his daughter kept soiling herself, and instead of providing her daughter comfort as related to her issues as related to continence, which are possibly based on anxiety, what Adam Montgomery did was seethe in anger because his daughter would continue to soil herself, and as a result, his abuse of his daughter Harmony escalated to a point in 2019 where Adam Montgomery allegedly exploded in rage. And as he exploded in rage, he allegedly attacked his daughter, and allegedly this led to her losing her life. And instead of looking to get her medical care, what Adam Montgomery allegedly did in 2019 in order to keep his world smooth so that he would not have to go to jail for a possible murder charge, was what he did was put his daughter inside of a duffel bag and put her body inside of the trunk of his car. And as he put her body in the trunk of his car, he then continued to go out looking for work, and as he was working, he put her bag in the freezer of a restaurant where he was working and doing dishwashing. And as he put her body inside of that freezer, this kept her body from decomposing and people noticing the smell of her decomposing body. And further on, as he eventually got more new housing with his family, the body wound up decomposing to a point where he eventually took it into a bathroom, and as he took it into the bathroom, he eventually wound up doing something to the body to make it to the point where the body basically wound up fitting inside of a smaller baby bag, and then eventually wound up taking the remains and disposing of the remains. Now, as this went on, Adam Montgomery continued to just live his life until law enforcement found out about the missing daughter Harmony, and eventually after they found out about the missing daughter Harmony, the police contacted Adam Montgomery, arrested him, and charged him for the murder of his daughter Harmony. And eventually what happened to Adam Montgomery is that he was put on trial and eventually convicted of this crime and other crimes as related to the whole disposal of her corpse and the mutilation and abuse of her corpse. And this entire disturbing case is definitely not an isolated incident, and it definitely fits the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. And when I look at Adam Montgomery's case, it definitely fits several chapters in The Man Crisis. One chapter it fits is the chapter Addiction and the Man Crisis, because for many beta males, their addictions basically drive them because they don't want to confront problems in their lives. And as they don't want to confront problems in their lives and escape through drugs, what they do is create more problems. And in the case of Adam Montgomery, his problems basically took him to a dark place that I talk about in The Man Crisis called The Secret World. Now, Adam Montgomery, basically, as he was having his addictions, basically didn't want to deal with the problems of his life, and he went to the secret world to escape those problems as related to his whole situation with his daughter. And as he went to the secret world, he basically went to a place to try to escape accountability for the care of his daughter, and he also wanted to escape accountability for taking the life of his daughter. So in order to maintain the smoothness of his world, what he did was go out here and not only abuse his daughter, but abuse the members of his family by keeping them to secrecy as related to keeping the secret as related to the death of his daughter Harmony in 2019. And what he did as they were looking to try to get their lives back together, it was again keep the secret of the death of his daughter so he could go back to living his life as it went on in the real world, where everything was smooth, where he could just be this guy who worked these jobs and be able to maintain this apartment, but no one would know about what he did to his daughter and what he did to take her life. That is the horrible secret that Adam Montgomery made his family make as related to trying to get back on their feet And it just showed how depraved and how indifferent he was to human life in his quest to keep his world smooth. Because what Adam Montgomery wanted to do was maintain his smooth world at all costs, to the point where he was basically looking to not even acknowledge the life of the daughter he had, and didn't want to acknowledge the life of the daughter he had because he had taken her life. And again, this just shows how sick and twisted this man is, and how depraved he is as related to his behavior. And his depravity basically showed, again, no regard for human life, because it was all about him, and all about him because he was just, again, caught up in looking to have his smooth world and be able to live without the problems as related to a daughter who sadly was born to him, born to a beta male who had no regard for her human life, no regard for her health or her safety. And this child would have been better off in the foster system, because at least there she would have had a home of some kind. But this man, basically because of his ego, wanted to go out here and put this child in this jeopardy and this danger. And that's what makes this guy just a complete monster, because it was all about him, and all about him having his smooth world, where he was going to have his dysfunctional family at any cost, even the cost of his daughter's life. Now, what's really, again, just depraved and twisted about this guy is that he murdered his daughter in 2019 and kept her corpse with him all the way to about 2021, and then just basically disposed of it like trash. I mean, he had absolutely no regard for the child that came from him, and didn't want to share love with his child, because if he wanted to share love with his child, he would have been working harder to get off this addiction, and he would have also worked to show his daughter love and help her calm her anxieties as related to the destabilization of her life. But instead of showing this child comfort and providing this child with emotional security, this insecure man basically was all about how he felt about possibly a smell in his car, and possibly about having to clean up a daughter and trying to find a place to keep her clean. When if he had just gone on here and fought to stay off the drugs, he might have been able to take care of that daughter and be able to get her to stay in a place where she would be stable. Because usually with 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds, they have to deal with these kinds of issues, and a lot of it is exacerbated by anxieties as related to changes in their life, changes like having to go to school, or changes that like having your entire home life destabilized. But that didn't matter for Adam Montgomery, because it was all about him. And because he had no regard for anyone, he couldn't even see his daughter as a person. And because he couldn't see his daughter as a person, this is why he abused her. This is why he took her life. And this is why he did horrible things to her body. Again, desecrating his own daughter's body just shows how sick this man is. And now that he's been convicted, he's in the perfect place for someone like him. And inside of that penitentiary, he will basically be suffering and getting abused and reaping what he sowed, later than what he sowed, greater than what he sowed, when he runs into Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles. And after they wind up curb stomping him for murdering his own child, they're basically gonna go out here and drop his pants of his prison outfit jumpsuit, and then show the front side and the back side big carbon rods, and wind up spit roasting this dude as they wind up trading him for Little Debbie snack cakes, ramen noodles, packets of Crystal Light lemonade, packets of Crystal Light tea, Taster's Choice coffee, off-brand fruit punch, off-brand lemon lime drink, off-brand orange drink, off-brand grape drink, off-brand prune juice, off-brand Oreo cookies, off-brand duplex cookies, off-brand sugar wafers, off-brand vanilla wafers, off-brand ginger snaps, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Pie, Snyder's pretzels, Kit Kat candy bars, off-brand lemon cookies, packets of tuna, packets of chicken, packets of beef, summer sausages. After they get through stuffing the front side and the back side and curb stomping him good, Then Mr. Sprinkles is gonna come in and spray him with the special sauce all over the backside and shove it down the front side, then split the cheeks open and show everybody on Cell Block D his backside looking like the inside of a glazed donut before they toss him into solitary confinement. And after that, what they will do is have him go out here and clean Mr. Sprinkle's skid mark jockey drawers with a toothbrush, and then after that humiliate him. And this man will deserve everything he gets, because what he did to that 5-year-old girl was absolutely reprehensible, and this piece of garbage deserves all 56 years in prison, because he basically, again, destroyed this girl's life and then destroyed her body to the point where the girl couldn't even have a funeral. And this monster basically deserves everything that he gets inside of that penitentiary. He deserves everything that he will receive inside of that penitentiary, because what he did was absolutely reprehensible, and again shows you the depravity of a beta male and why beta males are some of the most twisted individuals in our society. And these men, again, have no regard for human life. They have no regard for people. They have no regard for children. They have no regard for anyone. And the place this man is in right now is the place he needs to be, because what he did to that 5-year-old girl, again, was absolutely reprehensible and shows us the depravity of beta males and why they are some of the most dangerous men in society. And what's even more disturbing is that we've got more and more of these guys all throughout the country. And that the scary part is that these landmines are all across the country, and we don't know what they're capable of doing, but every day we see an increase in frequency of this violence. We see an increase in frequency of the kind of depraved things these guys do. I mean, these guys are just as depraved as, I say, the men of the first world that God destroyed. I mean, just that kind of evil, because again, to murder your own daughter and then basically desecrate her body, that's a special kind of evil, a special kind of evil that can only be punished by not only life in prison in this life, but eternity in hell in the next life. Because what this man did to this girl in the first 5 years of her life, this is just, again, the tip of the iceberg of the evil that beta males participate in, and why we need to invest in men so that we can go out here and teach men to be men and not wind up sick, depraved men in crisis like this. Now, if you want to learn why males like this become dysfunctional like this, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis at other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, and Target. And if you'd like to see me make more videos about men in crisis like this one that was requested, you can send a donation of a minimum of $15 to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App. And if I know something about that man in crisis, I will make that video for you. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes' Illuminati, the man who rules the world, takes on the head of the global elite in this all-new action-packed John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' Illuminati in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today.
Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.